So in rehearsals, we've been looking at the OP accent, the OP dialect, which is the original pronunciation of Shakespeare's text, which was devised, or more identified by David and Ben Crystal in London um, at the Globe Theatre. They sort of did several productions, which is what Tony's been looking at, Antonio's been looking at. Challenges with the dialect is that it is very um, sort of eclectic in its vowel sounds and different sounds. It has bits of Southern Irish, bits of North Country in England. Sort of, it's a bit piratey sounding. It sounds like Barbossa from Pirates of the Caribbean. It's a rhotic accent. It's so that means the R's are pronounced and quite actually full and bold, like R, um, like er. So it can sound very American, and you can see why it does almost. There's that whole misconception that English people or English actors being the sort of the Shakespearean actors, but in a way, American actors actually can, I think, have an advantage with speaking Shakespeare's text because it is a rhotic sound and it lends itself to an American sound in some respects. And it probably would have sounded like that when it came out, when I went out there, I suppose. Um, Difficulties. It is difficult because you're learning lines, you're learning Shakespearean text, and you have to worry. It's a balancing act. You have to sort of think about performing Shakespeare, which is difficult in itself. So you have to think about all those things that the iambic pentameter, blank verse, prose, all these different elements in language and performance and performing Shakespeare, as well as adding a dialect, this very specific, idiosyncratic sort of, and inconsistent. I think that's a big thing with accents. Accents are so inconsistent, and this accent's quite inconsistent, I think. So it has been difficult, but I'm lucky in the sense that Tony's been helping me to do it, and I've done a bit of accent work before, and I've used the IPA, the International Phonetic Alphabet, to diagnose and sort of do accents for performance. So I've had experience. I think that's why Antonio sort of asked me to be involved. But it's been good doing sessions with him and working on the accent and finding sounds. And you know when you start to get it, it starts to work and you start to hear it. And I know it's important not to listen to yourself doing accents. That's quite important sometimes. But to listen to recordings of other people or just listen to the sounds in isolation. But you can kind of feel it when it's happening. When you're sort of getting somewhere. At the beginning, it was very slow. We did a run and I just stood up there and I felt stupid. I felt very insecure and very aware and sensitive and sort of, yeah, very self-conscious of the accent. And I wasn't doing it very well. I'm still mixing up some, diphthongs and vowels and all that good stuff. But it's coming along now. It's just, with repetition, exposure, listening to the videos of David and Ben Crystal doing it and working with other actors and just learning the text. And I feel like the more I focus on my intention, my objective as an actor, the accent takes care of itself. It becomes not, I don't want to say naturalistic, but it becomes more grounded and it finds a sort of it just finds a real place. And it sounds less piratey and more just naturalistic for performance. Um, and yeah, that's been the biggest challenge, I suppose, sort of this constant balancing act with the acting Shakespeare, and navigating an accent. And I'm really excited about the project. I think it's going to be really interesting to hear what audiences' perceptions and sort of observations are of the three different, the standard, the RP, and the OP, and what sort of works to their ears as a Launceston Tasmanian audience, and what they think works for the text.
Okay, so yeah, I think it's a good idea what Tony's doing. I like that he's combining all the different accents. So just Bridget's normal accent, and then Yaz and I doing P, and then Patrick doing OP. I think that's a good idea to put it all together. Um, I was thinking at the beginning maybe it would have been better to have this scene done 3 different times with the 3 different accents, but then all of us would have had to do OP and that would have been difficult. But also that may have, for the audience, segmented each accent too much kind of thing. So they would have been, oh yeah, that's the accent. Oh no, oh that's the accent. Oh no, that one's the accent. Whereas if it's all muddled together, then yeah, they are trying to figure out which one does sound more appropriate for Shakespeare. And I'm pretty sure they will go with RP as how it's meant to be spoken. Plot twist, it's not. But yeah, so I think it's a really, really good idea what his whole honours project kind of thing is about. I think that's a good idea. I'm playing the nurse. I obviously know Romeo and Juliet because sort of as soon as you're born, you're sort of told about Romeo and Juliet. Kidding, but you know everyone sort of knows Romeo and Juliet. And so I've never played the nurse before. I've only done like a small scene from it before in my life, and that was just being Juliet because I'm a girl. I can't play Romeo. Anyway, that's another story. But yeah, the nurse's situation in the household is interesting to try and convey when everyone's in the room. So obviously she has a relationship dynamic with the Capulet parents, and then she has a completely different dynamic with Juliet. And I think that's really interesting to try and play, because when everyone's in the room, she's got to be like really, like she's got to be the nurse. She's got to be indifferent to the whole situation. She's got to be, oh yes, I'm totally on the, well, not indifferent, but like I'm on the parents' side, you know, I've got to, because I want to keep my job. And if Lord Capulet's a woman beater, well, I like to keep my life, sort of thing as well. So of course I'm going to be on their side because, yeah, that's what her situation is. And then obviously she has her own opinions about Romeo, and so Tony was just telling me about it before that she likes that she's always been on Juliet's side, but in this situation she does need to be not on her side for the betterment, or for the in the long term, for Juliet. This moment, she's got to be cruel to be kind situation kind of thing. So she's got to be like, yo, Romeo isn't the best for you to be with. So you should be with Paris because he's gonna be better for you in the long term. And Juliet's like, oh yeah, I see your point. And then the nurse leaves and Juliet's like, bitch, no, that's so rude. You're on my side. And then you flip. And so it's sort of difficult for the nurse to have to tell Juliet that she's not on her side. Well, she is on her side, but that she doesn't agree with Juliet being with Romeo. Like, yeah, he's a nice guy, but he's not. Okay, you shouldn't be with him because, like, Paris, he's this really awesome guy and he'll be so good for you. And whether he'll be good to her is another matter. But at the time, you know, it seems like it's a really, really, really good match. So Juliet should be with Paris. And so the nurse sort of has to swallow her feelings for Juliet because Juliet's like a daughter to her. She's got to swallow her feelings and be able to say, you know, I don't think you should be with Romeo. This situation is just shit for you to be with Romeo, and so you should be with Paris. So that's my 2 cents worth. I hope you take that on board. I have to be on your parents' side for reasons. And so I hope you do the right thing. And so it's fun to play that kind of subtext the whole time. Like she's there, and whenever Capulet's talking and he's going off his nut, the nurse has got a history with him and the fact that he is her boss, but he also used to beat her, or maybe still does. Like he's just a loose cannon. He's gonna blow up and hit her if she doesn't do the right thing. So she's got to do the right thing, and so it's cool to play that when Patrick, as Lord Capulet, is going absolutely batshit crazy, and the nurse is going to be like, stay calm, but oh my god, I don't want to die. So yeah, that's cool. And yeah, definitely today we started rehearsing without scripts in our hand, and yeah, that helped a lot for trying to build more characterization, trying to create mannerisms, how they would actually stand, and just interaction with other characters instead of just looking at the script. Yeah, there's Juliet there while I'm talking, but I got to look at my script because I don't know my lines. But now that I know my lines, I can look at her and I can be rather than just read lines. So it's good, going well, going swimmingly.
So basically, with Lady Capulet, I found she's a really interesting lady. Like, when I first read the script, I thought that she was just such a hard woman, and there was just no softness to her, not much like real loving, like motherly sort of instinct to her. But as I read through, and just as we progressed with the rehearsals and just kept on going through it and just workshopping and just breaking down the different scenes and different phrases and things and what they really mean, and just figuring out exactly, just getting into the little detail parts and just going nuts with it, I found that she is really, really emotional and stressed. And I think the relationship she has with Juliet, she does have that motherly feel to it, but the way that she's been and the way that Capulet's treated her, Lord Capulet that is, because she herself was in an arranged marriage, and she probably did not agree with that at all, but her parents, she's probably in the same scenario as what Juliet is with Lord and Lady Capulet. And the fact that she's just she just wants for Juliet to have a husband who will love and adore her, and to be financially stable, and to just live a happy life. And when Juliet says no to all these things that she's offering her, she just freaks out and just goes, what, how, what the hell am I going to say to Lord Capulet? Because Lord Capulet will backfire and just go, right, that's it. So it was very interesting to play with that, and to see how the relationship between her and Lord Capulet is, because it's very much, she is so obedient to him, and that is it. And even when she's with Juliet, her loyalties lie with Capulet, because that's just the way it is. And it's really fun experimenting with that, and just seeing how emotional she is, because she doesn't really vocally express it. It's all kept internally, and I find sitting back and just watching and just taking everything that's happening in, it's just like, oh, this is really, really, truly just overwhelming. And the way we've workshopped things is what's been so helpful. Tony stepping in and just saying, because he knows the text far more than what I do, and him stepping in and just giving his take on it, in what direction that he wants it to go in. And I'm looking and going, wow, this is really, really cool. The way, the tone, the pitch, everything is just expressed as that character, and it just gave me a new perspective of her as well. So it's been very interesting. Learning the phonetics has been so much fun. This is my lovely phonetic script in RP, and it's just, I wanted to take on this project because it would help me with my RP accent in phonetics. I thought, yes, this is fantastic. Plus I get to do some Shakespeare, so yes, that is brilliant. So I found that side of things has helped as well. My own research, I've done a fair bit on Lady Capulet herself, and again, just touching on that softness side of what's in here, but you can't exactly show it as much. So it's been fun going into research with this. So yeah, so it's week 8 now. Week 9 lines will be all down, and I'm really looking forward to putting this on because it'll be so much fun, and I'm enjoying it immensely. It's an experience that I am totally passionate about.
It's been really hard for me because I've only really dabbled with Shakespeare plays, and I've never performed Romeo and Juliet, and I've never even actually seen it until coming on board this project. I'm doing my normal accent, which I thought would be really easy, but when I'm next to people who are doing received pronunciation, it's actually a lot harder than I initially thought, because I keep sort of going to slip into that. And going hand in hand with that, it's sort of a challenge to keep my normal accent and not be too monotonous, like still getting that expression in there without worrying too much about slipping into that sort of more posh talk. Another challenge for me, because I haven't done a lot of Shakespeare before, is just sort of understanding like the setting and the characters, but also what they're actually saying, because the language is just so different from modern language. So having the modern translations has been really helpful to just sort of get a grasp of how my character's feeling and where she's coming from. One of the activities we did in rehearsal that I found really helpful was getting rid of our scripts in like the second week and just doing improv of what we thought our characters were saying, and even though it was nothing close to the actual script, I found it really helpful to just be like, oh well, this is what Juliet's feeling right now, this is how I would say it, and then being able to get the emotion that I got from that improv and translate that into the Shakespeare lines. Other than that, today is the first day getting the scripts out of hand and performing without looking at the lines, and I found that really helpful because it means that I'm not sort of following along and just having no emotion on my face. I'm actually reacting to what the others are saying and sort of getting like a bit more in touch with what Juliet would be feeling. So, for example, when Patrick, who's playing Capulet, is standing over me and shouting and talking about how he's going to disown me, I'm actually able to react and be upset and be shocked and like take it in my stride, instead of just being like, oh, okay, now where's my line? Yeah, so those are the main points. Other than that, I guess like working with people that I've never worked with before has been really interesting as well, because we're all coming from different levels of experience. So it's sort of that like coming out of the shell and just giving me what I've got and not worrying too much about being less experienced than the others, being the first year. Also, I did end up watching Romeo and Juliet for the first time, and I think it was really helpful, but it's also sort of like I've got to think, yeah, that's what it is on the screen, but that's not necessarily what I want to be translating onto the stage for this scene. Because in the movie that I saw, she's a mess and just crying and screaming about everything, which probably isn't what we want to be going for in this one scene. So yeah, that's the main stuff I think I've covered. And looking forward to next week, which is no scripts at all for anyone, because at the moment it's just been me and Hannah with script out of hand. I think it's really going to make it interesting, and working on blocking more is going to be really good, because at the moment it does sort of feel like, okay, here I am, should I be standing or should I stay seated, what would my character do? Whereas when everyone sort of knows their lines, it would feel a bit more natural. So like today we were working on how I would distance myself from my mother when something she said has offended me, and that's just something I didn't think of when we all had the scripts, and it's definitely a lot easier to see what the end product's going to be like when we don't have the paper in our hands. So yeah, looking forward to performance and learning it all a bit better.
watching one.